Needles threaded up. We're using a single thread again, anchoring knots in the end. Okay, and now we're going to create a small and neat and strong running stitch in the position following the line of the pins up this side, and then we'll come back the other side when we've finished the first side. Okay, and we'll take the pins out as we go, because that's going to make it easier for us. So what we're going to do, we're going to use running stitch. We're going to come up from the back. Now start right at the end of the fabric and right at the end of the zipper. Okay, so we're going to come up. Now what we want to do is make a few anchoring stitches to assist the knot so that it holds nice and tight and strong. Okay, so just a few stitches on top of each other. Okie doke. And then we start to work forward. All right. Now, so you have to be, take your time with this. It's really important that you go all the way through to the other side. You go all the way through to this side of the zipper, okay, because we're actually attaching all of those 3 layers together. The outside of your pencil case, your seam allowance, and your zipper tape, okay? And follow the line of the pins because they're basically sitting in the middle of your zipper tape, which is where you want each row of your stitching to be. Okay, so if the pins are if the pins make it a bit awkward to do your row of stitching, take out the pin just before you start sewing, and when you do your running stitch, you're aiming for the next pin. So that's your line of sight. Once again, if you aren't very confident, if you haven't quite practiced enough to make sure that your stitching is going to be nice and straight, you can, draw a dotted line in position if you want to follow that. Just be prepared that you're probably going to see that dotted line when you've finished sewing, but if that doesn't bother you, that is absolutely fine by me. What you want to do is create the best row of stitching that you can. All right, so I'm going to go down through all the layers, nice and small, pull the threads through, sitting nice and flat, down through all layers, up, pulling it flat. Now the other thing you can do, instead of just working on the surface of the pencil case, you can actually go right through to the back. So you actually pull the thread all the way through to the back like this, and then come up. And remember to use it's just a little bit harder to find the position for bringing your needle back through to the front because there are so many layers of fabric, you can't really, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So if you can work on the surface, do that, but just make sure your needles are going all the way through all 3 layers. Okay, now my stitching isn't as perfect as I'd like it to be. It's a little bit tricky here. I've actually got the camera sitting between me and the work, so it's a little bit more awkward. If you need to do more practice on scrap fabric, please do. You've got plenty of time to do that. I'm going to take out the next pin so it's out of the way. Hold on to your zipper, your seam allowance and your fabric all at the same time as you're sewing along. Now I'm deliberately using a dark thread on the light fabric so you can see what I'm doing for the video. You've all got different coloured threads. You just got random reels of thread in your packs. Hopefully you're not too disappointed with your colour. And maybe your mum or your grandmother or your dad or whoever does some sewing in the house, maybe they might have some other colours that you can choose from, which is great for you. But otherwise, all you really need is a basic thread to be able to create your pencil case, and that'll be fine. Okay, so I am moving along my zipper, ready to take my next pin out. Holding my zipper and my seam allowance and my fabric together to replace the zipper, I'm going down through all layers and up again. And I'm going to continue that the whole way along to the other end of the pencil case. Remembering not to pull your stitches too tight. Ouch. Ooh, there we go. I've just pricked myself. Okay, take the pins out as you come to them, holding the fabric in place and the zipper in place. Okay, we're getting towards the end. It's really important when you take that final pin out that you hold that really, you hold the zipper really firmly against the seam allowance, because the zipper head is bulky and it will want to sort of move the zipper tape out of position. So as you get towards the end, make sure that you're holding onto that really firmly, all 3 layers really firmly, going through all layers. I'm going to go right to the end of the fabric before I knot off. Okay, I've got right to the end. Now, this is seam allowance. You can see where we've drawn our 1 centimetre seam allowance. Okay, our stitching line, that's where we're going to be sewing, doing our final stitching on the pencil case. And this is your seam allowance here, which will be hidden inside the pencil case. You can actually finish off your stitch on the upside of the pencil case. So I'm going to do 3 little stitches on top of each other. Again, 1, 2, 3. And then on the 4th one, I'm going to go through the loop and pull, and then cut the thread off. Okay, so the stitching on the outside is pretty neat. That's not too bad at all. Now it's really important that you flip it over. Now unfortunately, because I used the dark thread, and I've also got a dark zipper, on yours it should be easier. I can see that my hand stitching has come all the way through to this side of the zipper and is sitting in a straight line along the edge of the zipper tape, which is exactly where I want it to go. So I've stitched through the outside of the zipper, the seam allowance, and the zipper tape. Okay, so that's holding nice and firmly now. Now it's time to flip your pencil case around and do exactly the same thing on this side of the zipper. See you for the next step after that.